podcast, and we're filming tonight. We're filming our podcast, and our co-host we love so much. She is a legend, Miss Devon O'Day.
Thank you. No, you can't call me a legend when I'm sitting here in this museum. This is like legend. I mean, like I'm just old.
No. You saw Conway getting a perm.
Yeah. I did.
That's legendary.
Tell that story.
Yeah,
again.
tell that story, Dev.
Y'all, it's so funny because in Music Row, there used to be two guys across the street from the radio station that had a hair salon. They rented shampoo bowls and had this thing. It was Cletus T. Judd and Billy Yates. Both are singers, and I couldn't get in to see Cletus, so Billy said, "I'll fit you in." And I walked in, and asleep on the chair with a bunch of pink perm rods in his hair was Conway Twitty. And and I have arrived in Nashville. That's like the I have arrived in Nashville story. I said, I'm getting my hair done the same people do Conway's perm. But
I love that.
Everybody got their perm at that time. I mean,
That's where they went. That's where Daddy went. I think there's pictures of Daddy with his permanent as well.
Yeah.
I've seen Ernie's perm before, yeah.
That's a good perm. So I think we're going to set we have not talked to Devon about tonight. We don't really talk about anything. We just figure it out.
That's her job. She's the producer.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, we just jump in and start
Yeah,
talking.
that's her job.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought since we played the docuseries, and you're so great too at like fielding questions, we could kind of do a Q&A of sorts, and then you just do what you do, and we wanted to involve y'all in the podcast. And so after watching that docuseries, I'm trying to be like nicer and cut myself talking off more.
Good luck with that part.
Why would we ever stop that? I know.
Why would you stop that now?
Well, do you have any questions? Like, do you have any comments? If you'll raise your hand, it would be so great if we could get your input on the docuseries, and if you have anything that you want to explore further, like Tre said in his first email to me. So no, this is how I thought it might go. Devon, stimulate them. Mentally. Mentally stimulate them, Devon.
After 60, when they remove your edit button, you go, you really want me to do that? I mean, honestly, no. I always say that you reach a certain age when you can be adorable and inappropriate all in the same breath. But
you're there.
I know I'm there. But that docuseries really made me start thinking about, do you actually, when you guys see that and you see Meemaw and Poppy, Loretta and Conway, do you actually see what we see? Because do you guys not see the same thing? I feel like I am in the presence of them sometimes. I mean, it's so spooky good. I mean, and it makes my heart, I can remember watching you guys at the Nashville Palace. Mm-hmm. And I broke down and did the ugly cry. Tre started singing, and all of a sudden I was watching Conway Twitty, who I loved more than Lunch and Jewelry. And I just had the moment, and I just did the boohoo. And then watching you, Tayla, you become your Meemaw because y'all carry that so well. And there's a whole lot of kids, there's a whole lot of people that could carry on, but nobody carries. Do you see what we do?
I feel it. I mean, like I said, once I met Tayla, I finally understood them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I said, I get it. Well, this is what that was. And if this is what that was, and that must have been great, So, but the chemistry and like the banter and the just how natural it feels to be with her and sing with her and talk to her. It's like if that was what that was, then I get it.
Conway was always really, really protective of Loretta, very protective of her. If he felt like she was getting tired, he always watched out for her. Do you find yourself being protective of Tayla?
I think that's reversed in this situation. I think she's protective of me. Yeah.
It's all just fielding the underwear that says flying up on stage.
We're too busy with them granny
We're protective
panties.
in different reasons. Different ways.
Different ways.
She's that way with me. Like she knows that I have a tolerance level that once I hit it, I got to be pulled out of the room or when I go crazy. And then like with all the business stuff, I watch out for her with that. So we're protective in different ways. But in that way you're talking about, I think that's more her role and protecting me.
Well, and I think if you were to say a different word than protective, you always push me to be my best, like with songwriting and stuff like that. That's where I feel like sort of the Conway thing comes in, where he's like, you are such a great songwriter. Please go write these songs. Or like, get out there. You're a great vocalist. Like, he's such a cheerleader for me. And if I'm not doing it, then gets angry. Nobody sees that, though. They only see me acting a fool up here and being mean all the time. They don't see anything from Tre because he's a gentleman. And so he does that, So that feels like protective in a way. Like, be your best.
Meemaw said one time that the only time Poppy got mad at her, which is kind of funny.
I cannot believe you're going to bring this up right now. Seriously?
Yeah, it's funny.
I'm going to kill you. I swear to God.
She got her eyes done, and she walked in. And she said he got so mad at me for getting my eyes done.
She got a little nip tuck, you know.
But that was like the one time that he like really got angry, So I don't. She didn't elaborate on that. She just said that was the one time he got mad at her when she got her eyes done, and he was upset about it. Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're a duet, you're kind of, somebody gets their eyes done, you go, well, now I'm going to have to go get my eyes done.
He tells me to go get the Botox.
No, I don't.
Yeah, he does. He say, you look like you look tired. Go get some Botox.
I've never said that.
Yes, he did. He does.
You're your own woman in that category.
Thank you.
Do what you want to do, Tayla.
Tayla, you are a spectacular writer. You really are.
Devon.
And I mean, I can just look at your Facebook post and I'm going, you write in a whole different level. And for you to carry on that gene, I mean, sometimes you think, do you ever judge yourself kind of harshly when you write? Because you also come from, well, there's the pen of Loretta Lynn, and here I am carrying on the torch.
I do with the songwriting, with the writing of like words on face, the snippets or whatever. I don't with that because she wrote so freely and she talked in the middle of a sentence, so she was very open and honest. And I love that she gave us that platform, like that sort of open door to be like, you can tell the truth. You can say who you are fully. And so I don't feel that pressure when I'm writing small things or if I were to write a book. But songwriting, absolutely. I'm always nervous and uncomfortable unless I'm with somebody like, Mark Normore, or when we wrote this record, our producer, Scott Baggett's here tonight. And we had a great session. We wrote with Jeffrey Still and Scott Baggett and Tre and I, and that was not nerve-wracking. It was so much fun. If you're in the room with the right people, and you can just get lost, and you're an incredible songwriter, and you can get lost in it, then you don't think about that other stuff. I think that's the cool thing about being a writer too, is that you do forget all those fears when you can really get in it. But if I have to show up to write a song, I almost throw up before I get there, and then I try to cancel, and usually we'll cancel every single time.
Well, that's a lot of pressure. Yeah. But if you just kind of end up with your friends and all of a sudden you go, that sounds like a song.
Yes.
And then it pops out organically.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wondered about that. Have you ever tried? Now, John Carter Cash discovered a drawer filled with pages and pages of poetry and notes and whatever, and created 2 albums based on those. And I personally know that Loretta had a pile of notes for songs.
Anthony, go get them.
She had a pile.
I think that's what Jack White did with Bandler Rose. He came over and saw that pile and started picking those.
Well, Sean Camp was the one. I'm going to give him credit for telling me, because Sean said, he goes,
Sean did it too.
She just had, they're napkins or whatever, and she just literally has, and I just wondered if
They're
you'd ever
everywhere.
delved into that.
Nobody's allowed that. I should ask.
I think she should, don't you? If anybody has the right to do that,
oh
it'd be
God,
you.
that would, now talk about feeling like you really had to show up for that. Yeah.
But that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I tell you what Conway had, and he had songs that he would call and he would say, hey, Devon, you want to come listen to songs? And I think I was so blessed to be able to sit and listen to songs. I would pitch songs sometimes, but mostly I would just listen. And I learned how to find hits based on Conway Twitty. Now, he didn't record them all, But he would send them all, and he sent 3 or 4 different songs to Ronnie McDowell, and Ronnie refused to cut them because he said they were too nasty.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
love to lay you down.
Yeah.
He found that one for Ronnie, and Ronnie tells a story at his show that they used to always meet at Center Point Barbecue in Harrisville, Tennessee, every week for lunch. And he came in one day with a 45, spinning it on his finger like that, and he said, "Ronnie, I got a song for you. It's a smash. Now you record this song." So Ronnie took it and listened to it and came back and said, "Conway, that song's too dirty. It's never going to get played, blah, blah, blah." He said, "All right, I'm going to cut it. You're going to see." And it was "Love to Lay You Down." That was the one he turned down. And then he turned down "Happy Birthday, Darling." He turned down a couple others. But, yeah, he had a knack for picking those songs even for other people, not just for him. And he was the kind of guy that if he believed in you, he would send you a hit song like "Love to Lay You Down" and not do it himself.
This is something, this experience tonight, I was just talking about it with the Sweet Tea Social, and what you're doing with fans is something that has died in current country music. People don't do this anymore. And why do you carry on something that has been the tradition? It's kind of old-fashioned. It's so sweet. And why do you carry it on?
Well, I mean, that's what we learned from Emo and Poppy. That's what the stories that I always heard was they would go play an arena and they wouldn't leave until 3 a.m., 4 a.m. sometimes. My mom's right here.
Mm-hmm.
She saw that back in the day. They would stay there until every autograph was signed, until every picture was taken, and that's just the way it was done back then, and that's why those artists are so beloved now, for that kind of stuff. So that's how we were taught, I guess, is the right answer. What do you think?
Well, I was just going to piggyback off that Meemaw, when we were out on the road with her, when she wouldn't go out anymore, she would send me and Dad and the twins out, and they'd be surrounding the bus, and you would go out there and then bring her stuff up. I mean, she'd have them bring it up there, and she would always say, "You got to be kind to the fans. You have nothing without the fans." And she was very serious about that. That's the number one lesson. She'd say, "Tayla, you got to say hi to everybody and smile." And I mean, that was, even in the last year of her life, she said, "Make sure you say hi to everybody, honey, and be sweet." And so I think that's what we try to do.
I always hear the stories. I hear the same story all the time at concerts. Brad. They say, "What? What did you say?"
I said, "Sorry, Brad."
Why are you apologizing to Brad?
Because he knows I'm not nice all the time. Go ahead.
Okay. Right. Leave Brad out of this. But it's always the same thing with Poppy, that they'll say, "I met your granddad at a truck stop in 1978. He was eating dinner. He was so nice to me, and I served him." Or it'll be some random, but they always hear how nice he was to everybody. Now, he was a gentleman. A gentleman always comes up, So you got to keep that going. You can't just not be that when you're doing a show like this, So they both have set the standard for how to act and how to, present yourself to fans and that kind of thing.
Well, and we're pretty excited that anybody wants to hang out with us. I mean, that's been a cool deal for us that y'all are sitting here with us. So thank you.
There's some things that become very difficult about keeping up a schedule. You both have such very different lives, very different schedules, because, you are up at 5 a.m. and you're a morning person, and Tre definitely is not a morning person.
I go to bed at 5 a.m. usually. Yeah.
So, and the whole creative side of what you bring, but when you're on tour, you kind of have to meet somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. What are the hardest parts about trying to sync up those schedules and do the professional thing?
Well, I have let her handle all of that scheduling part. I have.
Well, because
I can be like, we can be, if we're 7 hours away, I can get behind that van and get us home by 5 a.m.
But nobody wants to ride in the van all night long. Yeah.
Okay. And that's great for me, because I can drive all night, go home, and go to sleep. She has to drive all night, go home and make breakfast or get the kids ready for school, or she has to go be I get to go crash. She has to go be a wife and a mom. So I've learned to not, you pick your battles.
Well,
and that is one that I have given up.
We try to leave Tre alone. in the morning,
until,
but it's
until
hard.
3 p.m. It's
I
like,
can't
don't
go
talk to
that
Tre.
long.
Until that's right.
I will 11.
You're the only one. The other guys are like, they don't talk to me till 2. But
I
you
have
just,
things
you
to
just,
talk
you
about.
just insist on getting in there and pushing my button.
I forget.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you
And then
don't.
you'll say, "Yes, imagine if it was 1 a.m. That's what it'd be like at 1 a.m. talking to you."
Exactly.
I know. And then I'll go, okay, I'll go back. And then I'll just drive. So I leave you alone.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's worked out.
It's fine. It's
It's
perfect.
everything. So, yeah, Devon. We feel like everything's awesome.
Brad's our tour manager, and Brad and Tayla handle all the scheduling.
Brad is our, what's it called when somebody's in the middle? Not liaison, mediator.
Yeah.
Brad's our mediator. And I guess Hyla too, because Brad probably just tells Hyla everything to try to like unload his load of having to deal with us.
Has he gotten you some Hulk hands yet? You know, those great big Hulk hands.
No, we fight with words. I mean, boy, we will knock down, drag it out, and Brad will just turn around. If he sees it going, Jason too, I don't know where he is. They just turn around and walk away. There's just, if we are going at it, they just know that it'll be better afterwards.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we always make up at the end, so it's fine.
God. Everybody thinks I'm mean, but they don't see the fights. They're a little rotten. He's rotten.
When you meet somebody, like, for instance, an old line traditional songwriter that either contributed a song to Conway and Loretta or wrote with Loretta, what are some of the conversations that you've gotten to have with some people that are like that? Have you gotten to meet some of those songwriters? And
I got to meet Don Schlitz at the Opry one night, and that was I liked that. He wrote The Gambler, which my dad actually cut, right, Mom? He wrote The Gambler, and Michael Twitty, my father, cut that first before Kenny Rogers did. And we were talking about that. And he wrote this song called You Are To Me, which was on Conway's last album, Final Touches, which was like one of my favorite songs of all time of Poppy's. It wasn't a single or anything, but he wrote that. Don Schlitz did. And I was like, man, what a great song. But I haven't had too many encounters with people that written with him. He didn't write with too many people. Neither did me, I don't think. Mm-hmm. But he wrote with Ellie White and those kind of guys. I
Love
think.
Ellie.
But I haven't had too many, whatever the word is, instances of meeting people that wrote with him.
what about people who played with him?
Well, we had Charlie Archer play with us in Oklahoma. He played with Conway and Loretta, and that was neat to have Charlie out there playing steel guitar with us for a show. And the guys like Billy that was there from the beginning, I love to hear his stories and that kind of thing. And I like to hear anybody that knew Conway, because Conway, like I said, he's been gone so long now. He's almost kind of a myth at this point. You know what I mean? So anybody that actually knew him and knew him well, I wanted to pick their brain and find out things about him.
Have you gotten to talk to Vince Gill?
Vince Gill, not yet, no.
Because that's where you're going to get some amazing stories.
Yeah.
Because I remember interviewing Vince when he got his record deal. He says, the only reason I didn't probably pack up and go home is because of Conway Twitty.
Yeah, I believe that.
And I said, what do you mean? He says, he had me sing on every song. He had me sing. He signed me up, and he told everybody in this town, hire that Vince Gill because he can sing harmony on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I owe my entire career to Conway Twitty. And so his stories are amazing. He would go and listen to songs as well.
Yeah.
Now, what about Loretta? I mean, I know that you've run into people who worked with her and were on the road with her.
I think that this is the difference between me and Tre, is that Tre slows down and really listens to people. And I don't listen to anybody. And so people try to tell me stories all the time, and I don't know what they said. But that's really, it's bad, ain't it, though? It's sad because I could really collect a lot of stuff. You know, Lola Jean, though, that was partners with Ellie, when I was living with Meemaw, she did move in with us. And that was a party, okay? That's when my story began with Lola Jean Dillon. And Ellie White, honey, he was in a wheelchair or something like that. He just rolled on in there. And so I got those stories, but I can't tell those on the podcast. But when
Those
Tre
are the
was...
ones we want to hear.
I know, but I can't do it yet. I have to ask if anybody be mad at me. But I do watch Trey really absorbing and seeking out these stories. And I think maybe because I was chilling with Meemaw, I don't listen. But maybe I will now. But I doubt it, God. I cannot take the medication for me to concentrate on what somebody's going to tell me about this memory they got with Meemaw. I want to. I do. And I love to hear y'all's memories, of course. I don't talk about anybody here. But just like, I can't remember. I mean, Sean Kemp, of course, has told me stories, and John Carter, and those people, but I don't know what they are. And I'm sorry.
I understand.
I know.
Understand. Okay. Did
Yeah.
Loretta ever gossip?
Oh.
Did she ever dish a little bit? I want to know
I wish that.
Who's cheating who?
That was her favorite thing.
I knew it.
Meemaw would stir up more stuff than you have ever seen in your life, honey. They would say, I think Daddy told me that she would come home and be home for, 2 days or something. And she would have this whole ranch stirred up for, from everybody that worked here, and everybody was doing this to that. And she'd come home and Paw get so mad at her because she'd have the whole ranch spinning in circles. She'd love it. And when she was like, that's why she loved when she was in the Inquirer and stuff, because she loves that gossip stuff. And she'd have girlfriends, and God, it'd just be a gossip fest in the back. I mean, just always. David, am I telling it? You know it's right. Derek, y'all heard it too. The three amigos they heard it all. I mean, always. That's why I liked her, because she was feisty. She was so kind and sweet and loving, but she had something to say.
I just kind of wondered if Loretta wanted to gossip. Didn't you? It's like, and I always
she would
heard,
talk so much stuff about. She would talk. But I'm not going to tell it.
Oh, come on, tell it all.
No, I can't. But like she had some. No, but
okay, she had to have a George and Tammy story.
Do you know that's who I was thinking of anyway?
I knew it. I was.
Well, Tammy was out with her a bunch, especially towards the end of Tammy's life.
I got to go see that. I got the invitation to go. It was Loretta, Brenda Lee, Tammy, and for some reason, I think Katie Lang was there too.
Oh.
It was a kind of a interesting thing. I think Katie kind of brought them in to sing
That's
on
cool,
one of her records.
Yeah.
But then there was that Women of Country kind of thing. Then Dolly Parton joined him as well. And I just wondered if there was any. Did Loretta ever send a story to the Inquirer like Dolly does?
I don't. You know what? I don't know about that. They thought I sent an Inquirer about Meemaw one time, but I didn't. I did not. But Patsy thought I did. And so I got in trouble one time, but then she finally believed me I didn't. But they thought I did it one time, but I did not. So I don't know about that. And if she did send it and I knew it, I wouldn't say she did it. But I don't know. I don't think she did. But what I thought you were going to ask me is if she's talked bad about any of those women. And she was really gracious about other women. Even if she was like, you saw Sally down there. But she looks good. She did look good. I mean, she'd be throwing Sally under the bus, but she'd be like, her hair was gorgeous. So
I just wondered, don't you always wonder if there was any like backbiting or a little bit, was anybody ever ugly to her that she ever fessed up a little bit?
Well, I mean, if you read Coal Miner's Daughter or Still Woman Enough, those books, she talks about some of those people. She was never afraid to name a woman by her name that had done something with Pawpaw or whatever. Now, I don't know if they did anything, but that was after Pawpaw. She would name them by name whatever state that she lived in and she was performing. Or here, or in a book.
There was a story that
got
to me that
do it. God, please, Meemaw, forgive us if you don't like it.
Well,
but Devon's telling it, not me.
I know. Well, she had heard that this particular woman was trying to make time with Dew.
Make time.
Yeah, just kind of get to know him a little too well.
Yes.
So she shows up in another town with a pillowcase full of rolled quarters.
Yeah.
Did you
That's
hear about that?
I don't know about that one, but she would fight. She wasn't
yeah.
scared to beat somebody up.
Yeah, when she says you ain't woman enough to take my man, she kind of actually meant it.
No,
And
Mama
so-
said that she did take a girl down out here in the front yard one time. I mean, you can't really promote physical, what's it called?
Violence.
But she did. That's fine.
Well,
Back
no,
then.
I mean,
You had to.
Well, yeah. I mean,
She
don't
was
know.
authentic in what she wrote. I mean, she did all
Yeah.
that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's why people love her so much, because she was authentic, and those stories about beating women up and grabbing by the hair of the head was something that she went through and lived. You know?
I guess she couldn't do that anymore. Could you?
Well, you
Could
can't-
you sing about that anymore?
I mean,
Beating a woman
Miranda
up
talks
with a
about-
bag of quarters?
Miranda talks about what's her songs about?
Glove my
Rolling
keys
my
into
shotgun,
the
yeah.
drive and
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot of
women beating
women
women.
on women
Well, you
violence
shouldn't.
anymore. Yeah,
No.
it's mostly about women on
Well,
men
Eminem
violence.
did just come out with that new song. It's so good.
But if you go to Texas, any place in Texas, there's going to be someone defending her turf. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I think that's the truth that Loretta would write about. It wasn't popular to write about it back when she was she is the most banned
Yes.
artist of all time, female artist of all time. So writing about that stuff is very authentic to women, and everybody that's in here is like, yeah, somebody gets my man. But that's why she identified, because she said what everybody else was thinking, what was afraid to say. And Conway sang songs that everybody was afraid to cut, but he knew that they were amazing. Like the thought that he would go and get a song called Slow Hand by the Pointer Sisters. Now, he took a lot of grief for that, and then it went right to number one. So, I mean, crazy.
Well, it's just funny how that is considered like that's classic country now, you know. But back in the day, I talked to Scott about it all the time. It's like he got so much, you know, hot water for doing that kind of pop song. That was pop back in the day. You know, 82 was it 82, Scott? When that song came out. That was a pop song on country music radio.
Oh, big
you know?
time.
And now it's classic country. So it just shows you that, you know, whatever you're doing at the time will eventually not be. Like when Elvis came out, he was doing that rock and roll, but now it sounds like country music. You know, it's not rock and roll anymore, but it just shows you that as time goes on, people have a different view of the past, you know, than what was going on at the time. So,
Do you know, did Elvis ever get to see Conway Twitty in concert?
Bill said yes.
Billy, pipe up on this. You're the guy for this story.
Playing the Eagles High School where Elvis went. He was invited to a football banquet downstairs. He'd already cut his first couple of hits. We were upstairs playing for a sock knot, the picture of which they show going into the commercial break on CMT's story of Conway Twitty. That's a picture they took in Humes that night. And we looked up and there's Elvis standing in.
Oh, wow.
This is not viewing a concert as such.
Right.
He was eavesdropping on us.
Yeah.
And he was sitting there and we did, and the woman on the baby, and you know how you put the stripper song on the end of something like dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun. And Elvis was watching us and we watched it, and from thereafter Elvis always ended his show the same way we felt that Elvis had copied our show.
Elvis copied y'all doing Elvis, and then he started doing it, right? Yeah. That's great. I love to hear that kind of stuff.